Hello, Internet. You're listening to the In Your House comedy podcast with the Babyface and his fellow funny friend. Now hold on to your butts. Keep your arms and legs inside the podcast at all times. Prepare to have an autographical orgasm in 3, 2, 1.
Hello everybody then, and welcome to another episode of the In Your House Comedian Podcast. I am your comedian babyface and all around lovable tithead Kd Hinken. This is the show where I am joined by one of my fellow funny friends from around the comedy circuit to talk about absolutely anything and everything to entertain all of you beautiful people in internet world at home. This time I'm joined by one of the creative connoisseurs behind proper sound comedy. Recently popped my online comedy night cherry on his night, and I have to say I did enjoy it a lot more than I thought I would, as I said to you, Colin. But yeah, without further ado, please welcome Colin Etches.
Yeah. Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How about you?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm really good.
Yeah,
I'm really good. I'm quite glad not to have an online show this week. We did one a week through January because we didn't know whether we were going to go back into lockdown or not.
Yeah, of course.
So we put one a week on, and thought thankfully this week we've got a week off.
Yeah, so I remember you saying about that last time. Actually, you're doing one a week before then, so now you're doing one every other week.
We've gone back to one every other week now, so the next one will be on the 13th.
Yeah, I think that helps anyway, though. Like sometimes going down to like every other week, just so you can make sure you can do everything and it like all, because there's a lot more that goes into arranging gigs than people realise.
I think with the online shows, every week tends to dilute the audience a bit because nobody can make every week. So
yeah.
I think if you've got 2 a month rather than 4 a month, it's more likely you'll get everybody turn up.
Yeah.
Than if you do it every week. Because let's face it, who's got every Sunday anyway? Because it's
Right,
done me in. It's done me in. There's 5 Sundays in January.
It's strange doing stuff on a Sunday, doing it. I think a Sunday is a really good day for it, though, to be fair.
It's nice for the online stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of gigs on a Sunday. So we get a better pick of comics on a Sunday. But yeah, I mean, we started doing it during lockdown and we tried to stop. But we've got a bit of a loyal audience that threatened to rebel on us.
I like that you tried to stop. They just
tried
wouldn't let you.
Yeah. It's a bit like drugs.
Yeah. Comedy in general is a lot like drugs, let's be fair.
It is. I
think
can't do it.
Yeah. I didn't think about it like that. You can't afford to do it. You have to go really far to get it normally. And
yeah.
It's never quite there when you want it.
Yeah, it's never quite as good as you thought it'd be. You know, I've never done crack, but they talk about crackheads that I've spoke to makes it sound like my house is crawling with them. But crackheads that I've spoken to have said that they spend big chunks of their lives chasing that first hit.
Yeah.
You know, and comedy is a bit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? But it's not. It's more when I went on stage for the first time, I was a bundle of fucking nerves.
Yeah, same. I still am every time, man.
You know, I'm not now. We were talking about this the other day, and
yeah,
I just don't get that pre-stage nerves anymore. I get that. I mean, if I have a good one, I come off shaking.
Yeah,
you know,
the adrenaline. Yeah,
the adrenaline kicks in. But I never really got the. I mean, I'm a broadcaster and musician as well, so being in front of a microphone was never anything that was that alien to me.
See, I know we share like the musical background and that, but I was the drummer, of course. So, and one thing in my main band that I was with most of the time was that I just wasn't, because they were my friends as well, like beforehand. And they were just like, yeah, we know what you're like. You're not allowed a live mic. You're not allowed a mic. Like, So it's still new to me, you know.
Miserable bastards.
Yeah. I just meant that any time in between songs, if they weren't ready to jump into the next thing, I was just like, well, I'm not sitting here and being quiet. I just get up and jump on the mic.
Yeah.
Some stupid stuff.
Yeah.
So you was a guitarist in that, weren't you?
I'm a guitarist, singer. I can play anything with strings, really.
Oh.
Mandolin.
I have to get you down with me in my basses sometime and have a jam.
Yeah, I started as a bass player. And
okay.
I learned to play bass just to be in a band. When I first learned to play bass, all I knew was the 12 bass lines. I didn't know anything else. I knew no music theory, nothing. I just knew these 12 bass lines.
So when you say lines, you mean like scales or?
Pardon?
What
No,
do you mean when you say lines?
I knew that he wrote them down.
Oh.
So what they did is they put stickers on the bass and numbered them. So I didn't even know what notes I was playing. I just knew where my fingers needed to be.
Man, in all honesty, though, I think that's the best way to learn an instrument because that's essentially how I learned drums as well. Me and my bassist at the time, I started playing drums, he started playing bass, and we were playing together and also learning our instruments at the same time.
The trouble is, as a bass player, right? The rhythm section bits, the background stuff, the percussion, and the it's all really tough stuff, man. You've got to like keeping it tight. So for me, even as a guitarist now, I'm a straight rhythm guitarist. I don't do anything flash. I don't play lead. Do you know what I mean? For me, For me, the excitement comes at holding that base of the music solid, so that the guys that are really good can show off. Because I'm not really good. I can hold hold a rhythm. Do you know what I mean? And
I know exactly what you mean.
But with every Jimi Hendrix wouldn't have been able to do what he wanted if he didn't have them three musicians around him. You know what I mean? Filling in for the guitar. When he was off showing off, there was still a guitar in the background. Do you know what I mean? And I think I get my excitement from that, from holding something tight for a long time.
No, I understand that. I think probably more so as a drummer as well. I get that. And I've always seen, like, I've always thought it, especially with drums and bass, but I never really thought about the rhythm guitar aspect, but that totally fits in with it too. It should all feel like during a song, it should feel like one instrument. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
As you said, like so tight in that. Like when you're in a band as well, you're like, as soon as you're sick of playing a song together, that's when you're really ready to, play it at any point. You can just whip it out of nowhere,
And it's funny you should say that, because actually I was thinking that the other day. I was thinking, God, I'm bored of some of my material. And one of my other comic friends said to me, that means you've got it down. Do you know what I mean? That means you don't need to work with that anymore. That means that bit sound, it's in the bag. And of course it's going to bore you repeating the same shit all the time.
Yeah.
Do you know
Definitely.
What I mean?
100%.
But that's why I like to write. I mean, I've probably got, I don't know, an hour. You know what I mean? And I've only been writing since February. But you've got to put the hours in, man. I don't know how hard you work with your writing, KD, but I love the writing. I love the writing more than the performing.
Yeah, I'm a writer in general, man. I've written like stories in the past. I've just written a pilot for a sitcom, for example. I love writing myself, so
yeah.
I mean, I put a lot of time in. The way I try and do it with my what would you call it? I suppose just my way of doing it for writing comedy. I always have a book with me. I always have my phone with me, and whenever something comes in, I'll whack my laptop on charge. 1 sec, sorry.
Oh, that'll be for the chopping board, won't it? That little bit.
Yeah. I'll cut this little bit out.
Cut that, so I can say cunt and everything, and it won't matter.
You can say whatever you want anyway, dude.
I forgot what we were talking about now, though, so it don't matter.
The processes for writing and that, like for me, one of the main things that I do is I always have like a notebook on me. I always have something on me where I can write when I get an idea, and then I really kind of pick it apart. Then later, when I really start picking it apart and figuring out the format of it more when I'm setting up a structure for a set. Or I try and look at it like that. Like I look at it, I see structure to be just as important as what you're saying and how you're saying it. It's not just what you say and how you say it; it's when you're saying it.
Yeah.
Before, after, what, like callback jokes, that kind of thing.
And at the beginning, there's no substitute just for getting out and doing it. Do you know what I mean? And you're gonna land flat. You're gonna, jokes aren't gonna work. Unfortunately, 99% of comics are not Russell Kane. You don't walk out and win Laughing Horse comedy competition on your 6th gig or something. Do you know what I mean?
Wow,
That's not how it goes, is it? Conversely, I don't buy into this. I don't know. You listen to old hands on the open mic circuit, and they'll go, "I've got to wait my turn. I've got to pay my dues. And I don't buy it's like that either. Do you know what I mean? I think if you're good enough and you're funny and you can put yourself out there, why do you have to wait 10 years? Just because Mickey Flanagan was a comic for 14 years before he got anywhere. I don't subscribe to that school of thought.
Like I agree, and not even that I disagree. I think both are true. You know, I think there's all different versions of. Just because someone hasn't made it for 10 years doesn't mean they can't in 11 years. But at the same time, some people do it quick. But I think a lot of it is to do with, like you said, it's about obviously how funny you are in that, but also just making sure you're in the places to get noticed, putting yourselves in those situations.
Yeah.
Everyone always thinks that you get given opportunities as well. It's not really that. You have to like fight to keep your name
think that
there.
Just being funny is enough.
Yeah, you have. It's a fight to keep your name relevant.
Yeah, that's the sad fact that being funny isn't enough.
Yeah.
You know, having the material is your first objective, because until you've got a tight set, you won't discover who you are as a comic.
Yeah. I mean, my set's changed so much over the originally it changed, and over the pandemic as well, doing so much online stuff like with the podcasting and that. It changed as well a lot in that I realized the stuff that should be talked about on a podcast and what should be talked about on stage, you know.
Yeah. I just think, I for me, I took up comedy only in February. And
so you're celebrating your anniversary then?
Yeah, almost my anniversary. Yeah, Valentine's Day was the first gig I did.
Oh, yeah.
And it saved me, man. I was really low. We were living out in Holland. I'd not worked for 18 months because of the lockdown. We had no money. I was pretty much ready for jumping under the next tram, if I'm honest.
Yeah, man, it was a hard time for a lot of people. I understand. I know some people that did, so I get it.
Me and the missus were spending a lot of money on Zoom shows. We were going to a lot of, and they were good shows. I'm not knocking them, but they weren't like ours. Ours are unique among Zoom shows. You know what I mean? We have a lovely atmosphere. And even if the audience is only sort of 15, 20, and then you've got the comics on top, because of the way we run the show, everybody hangs about, the comics support each other, and it's a nice show.
Yeah, it's relaxed, it's chill.
You know, so, but what I saw was a lot of Zoom shows that people were paying £7 and £8 to see, and they were shit. And I'd always fancied being a comedian. So I kind of it just sort of happened, really.
I feel like at this level as well that we're not really like money shouldn't come into it because I don't see like the point. Like I don't feel like I should be charging people to come in and do stuff to see us at the moment. Like just because we're all developing still, which is why like that new night I've got coming up. Like there's no money involved in any of it.
Yeah,
just I think people coming having eyes on you is more important.
The only problem with that, KD, and I've got the same problem in Nottingham. I run 2 gigs in Nottingham, and one of them's an open mic, and one of them's a showcase, right? Now, the open mic, I do a bucket split for the comics, right?
Yeah.
So I take a split as the MC, obviously, as a comic, but I do as much work for that as I do for my ticketed gig. I don't get anything. Do you know what I mean? And that's the problem. That's why open mics really are labours of love.
They are, yeah, completely.
You know what I mean?
I said this when I started, like 4 years ago or something like that. The reason I was able to feel like that I was able to develop so much was because there was so many open mic nights available at the time, and they've just completely died out now. So I just kind of wanted to do one for that reason, because on the first night, the one you're at, we got someone who's only doing their 5th ever gig, for example, doing 5 minutes. And then on the third night, he's coming back to do like a 10-minute set. And I love that, being able to see that development of people. It's just nice, man. It's cool.
Well, yeah, but something like that's brilliant, because if I'm there as a comic and someone's only done a few gigs and they go out and do a 5, then I'm just itching to give them feedback as well.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm itching to go, yeah, that was brilliant. That was not so good. You know, I mean, I'm just itching. Me and my business partner have just started. We're gonna do
Rachel.
Me and Rachel, yeah, we're gonna do writing workshops for beginners. Stand-up workshops, stand-up writing workshops for beginners. But what we've also been doing is we've been working with a comedian recently, and we've been acting as writing consultants.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually worked really well, and I think we found a model for that that's going to work now. So that's quite exciting, and I'd love to work with as many comics as possible, really. Because I mean, I'm lucky because I've got, you know, when I found comedy, I found my people. Comedians are my people.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Right? Oh, I completely agree with that. 100%, man.
Comedians are my people. I mean, they're arseholes.
Yeah, yeah, we are.
We're
egotistical. We do want attention, but we also don't want attention at the same time as well. So this weird mid place.
And listen, there's some bitchiness involved, and
there's a little bit, yeah.
But I think on the whole, we're quite supportive of each other.
Yeah, they're few and far between when people are acting dicky. And out of the two encounters I've had, I think only one of them was genuine dickiness. The other one was just because of the time of year it was, beginning of the pandemic, you know, stress and that.
Yeah.
I think the other person was stressed out. So they're even few and far between.
You know, yeah, I think, yeah. And I mean, my most awkward experience, difficult experience in comedy was the night I did the Ollie Bush, man, and fell flat on my arse. You know, and now anybody fall flat on their arse in the Ollie Bushes because they'll laugh at anything, man.
No, it's not true, man. No, the Hollywood, it very much so. First of all, it just depends on how they feel on the night. Like some nights you're right, they would just laugh at anything, but some nights as well, they just won't. Like, you know, they're not really in the mood for it.
Shall I give the people at home my story from the Holly Bush? They'll love it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did the Holly Bush. I don't know if I discussed it with you, KD, before, but
vaguely, yeah.
I learned more about being a comedian that night than I've learned in all the time of being a comedian, and I'll explain why at the end. But I got this bit where I talk about how I'm not really a big fan of conspiracy theorists, and well, anybody that's never been to the Holly Bush,
we'll get into the conspiracies in a bit as well. We'll get into conspiracies in a bit.
Anybody that's not been to the Holly Bush, it's a lovely venue and they're a nicer bunch of lads. But what I didn't realise is, you know, 80% of the audience are rather anti-establishment and rather conspiracy-minded.
Yep.
And the main character in my story is a geezer called Dave. Well, you can tell the people at home who Dave is.
Well,
Dave the landlord.
Oh, Dave Bush. Okay, the Bushmaster.
You know what I mean? So they must have thought for 5 minutes I was stood directly taking the piss out of them. You know what I mean? They did not fucking respond. Nothing. Everything felt dead. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sat outside. Do you know what I mean? Having a flag, feeling pretty shitty as it goes because I couldn't understand what I'd done wrong.
At least you did the right thing by staying. First of all, though, too many people just leaving those moments.
Well, this woman and man sidled up to me like they were buying crack.
Was it a blonde woman?
Looking round, they leaned in and went, "We thought you were fucking hilarious." The trouble is, 80% of that lot are conspiracy theorists, and the other 20 are too scared to laugh.
I realised it, like how conspiracy minded some of them are. Just from I was in one bit in my set. I've got like just a story about the island of plastic, you know, the size of Texas, is floating around in the ocean. And as soon as I said that, they were like, "Oh, you actually believe that's real?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's there, but it's not a case of belief." What?
Yeah, exactly. And with that kind of stupidity, you can't do anything with it. There's nothing you can do with that. You know what I mean? It's like because I suppose we'll talk about the elephant in the room, right? I'm not a fan of conspiracy theories, right? And it's not because I think anybody that's got a theory about a conspiracy is wrong. It's not because I don't think there are conspiracies at play. It's just I want a bit more academic reference than YouTube and the dark web.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, I'm happy to believe the royal family are lizards. Just show me the fucking evidence.
Oh,
you know
yeah. They're fun to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, they are fun to talk about, but conspiracy.
But some of them, no.
I've got a bit where I talk about conspiracy theories, and my big issue with it is that it's usually not a theory.
Yeah. Oh, it's never a theory. Yeah.
A theory is an explanation of something based on all known facts and parameters.
Yeah.
My pal Dave, YouTube and the dark web, that's not theory.
They're hypotheses, aren't they?
That's somewhere between an idea on a good day and a brain fart. You know what I mean? And it's just, it's a war of attrition with them. You know what I mean? There's no, you know what I mean? You can't have an intellectual debate because what they believe is right, and if you don't believe them, it's because you're asleep.
Confirmation bias completely. Yeah. Here's the thing. I love conspiracy theories. I love talking about them, but that's the thing as well. I'm one of those ones though. As much as I love talking about them, I genuinely lean on. I don't know. There's no evidence for it. So why? What is the reason for this being true? There's nothing here that tells me this is true.
I mean, forgive me, KD, but I just like to take in all the information and then draw my own conclusions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shocking that we do it that way, isn't it? How crazy is that?
Call me old-fashioned, do you know what I mean? But
I like to have a look at the actual facts.
Yeah, like, I tell you, piss me off the most. Fucking flat earthers.
Oh, God.
Right? Now, I know that we have telescopes that can see thousands and thousands of miles. But given clear line of sight, they can still only see as far as the Earth will allow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There comes a point where you cease to be looking round and you're looking over.
Yeah, yeah. Like a hill. It's a very simple thing to understand. But yet these people, like we did a podcast about flat earth the ones like quite a while back, just trying to understand, you know, the frame of mind, where this even comes from, why this is even a fact, whether these people really believe it or they're just trying to push it or if they even exist. But they sadly do exist. And whatever you say to them, they'll try and come up with a reason why that's wrong. And it's like you said, they're not trying to learn there. It's just confirmation bias. It's just, no, it's not that I'm wrong. Let me tell you why I'm right and how you're wrong. Yeah.
What I would like to do is distinguish it from the Flat Earth Society that campaign for the abolition of all hills. And can I say I'm really I'm for that. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I'm all for the abolition of hills. That suits me fine.
We need to think of people that have to walk. We need to think of skateboarders. There we go.
They
need a level ground. They need level. They need levels.
It's the responses that irritate me as well. You'll go, so you believe everything you're told, do you? Yeah, but you're believing everything you're told. It's just coming from different sources.
Yeah, and there's literally nothing. There's so many things like that. Like, I'm trying to think of specific examples, but like, okay, this is one that as soon as you say to people, they're like, oh, but Bigfoot we was doing on the most recent podcast. And just because there's no evidence of like, you know, a dead body there, or there's no evidence per se, you know, of Bigfoot, there's not much. I don't know how I feel about it personally. I'm a bit like, it could be there, but who gives a shit? It's a monkey if it even is there. Like, what's the big deal?
I feel no different about you, how you feel about Bigfoot there. I feel the same way about God.
Yeah, everybody, literally twice during the podcast and then during the discussion afterwards when I talked to someone else, both people have referenced it to God just like you did then.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about God. Do you know what I mean? I'm beyond atheism in that I don't really care if there is a God. If there is a God, I've got a few fucking words to have with the country on it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've got a couple of bones of contention. And Stephen Fry, I don't know if you watched it, but Stephen Fry did an interview on an Irish television network. And he pretty much said the same, where, yeah, if there is a God, I'm going to fuck him up. Do you know what I mean? You let good people die. You created a creature that climbs and lays its eggs in the eyeballs of children. Do you know what I mean? What the fuck, you sick, sadistic, twisted bastard?
He'd be like a Thor level horror villain.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Do you know what I mean? What kind of god drowns everybody apart from one family and a load of animals? Do you know, it's just fucking... Come on.
Oh, the stories behind that. I've always said this, that Jesus and religion in general is the original conspiracy theory. It completely is.
I do the conspiracy theory bit, and then I go straight into a bit about the Bible where I say, we'll talk about my favourite conspiracy theory, which is the Bible, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I make reference to being autistic. I make reference to the fact that there's not enough autism in the world for me to take this shit literally. You know what I mean? Just, it fits nice together. I'm writing my first hour show. Okay. And I'm not, it's for next year. It's not for this year. I'm kind of taking my time with it.
That's better.
And it's going to be...
There's no other way to do that.
No, but it's going to be about the history and the nature of storytelling.
Okay.
Because I think as comedians, we're the last bastion of sort of traveling storytellers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, there's, we almost have a tradition to honor. And I don't think a lot of us do. You know what I mean? I think a lot of us forget that actually we come from a bardic tradition that goes back centuries. The traveling storyteller. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, people like me and you, that's how we would have lived. We'd have gone from place to place, telling stories for board and lodgings and a few coppers for some beer. Do you know what I mean?
And that's essentially what we do now still, even like...
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That looks tasty, KD, that one.
Yeah, thank you. Medicinal purposes, as you know, I've had a headache all day and this shit helps. Legit.
You're on about podcasts that you'd like to do. Mm. They do that drunk comedy show on telly, don't they? Where the comedian...
Drunk History.
Huh?
Drunk History.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Now, I would quite like to do a series of podcasts, right? And we wouldn't be able to do it here. We'd have to go to Holland and do it probably. But just so happens that I have friends out there and my business partner. But I'd like to do a series of one-offs where we get fucked up on a certain drug.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say. Oh, well, I thought you were just going to say bud, but you mean like a different drug each time?
I was thinking we do a hallucinogen one, and we do it somewhere and set up the cameras. We do it in a nice, controlled, safe space. But I love the idea of us getting fucked up half a dozen times.
It's a cool idea.
We can do DMT. We can do the legal ones that are quite. We can do some mushrooms. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of my drug taking days are over, to be honest. I gave myself like a really bad trip when I was a downloader once. And since then, whenever I have certain kind of stuff, not everything, more like, like talking like your Coke or your MD or that kind of stuff. It was...
I retired, man, but I'd be happy to come out of retirement for a last hurrah. You know what I mean? Like, this is how out of touch with drugs I am, right? I found a bag with 5 acid tabs in my house the other day. Right? I've not had an acid for about 7 years. So God knows how old they are. Do you know what I mean? God knows.
Probably not even working by now, or they would have, because don't they have like a certain shelf life?
If I'm honest, KD, I'm a little bit scared. I'm not I've not done LSD for a long time, and I'm not anti-drugs. I think,
everyone should be allowed to do what they want.
I think if you treat your population like children, they'll behave like children.
Yeah, man. I don't
it's as simple as that.
I think prostitution should be legal, for example, because who is like Boris, for example, who is he to tell a woman who wants to do that and is happy to do that? Who is he to say no, you can't?
In Holland,
I understand that.
In Holland, it's regulated.
Yep.
So now, what does that mean? That means the girls are safe.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They've got to have medical tests. That means the blokes are safe.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? It's in controlled zones with a police presence, which means everybody's safe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
that's how it should be.
These girls are paying tax. You know what I mean? Right? I see no issue in principle. No, none at all. And what you also find in countries where there is legalized prostitution, sex crimes are usually lower, and so are divorce rates.
Yeah, funny enough, yeah.
Serious, man, right?
I can imagine.
Legalized prostitution, divorce rates went down, and so did sex crimes instantly, almost.
But that one obviously makes a lot of sense. But it's quite funny when you think about the reasoning behind the divorces going down.
Yeah, divorces went down by 8%.
Yeah. They don't need to have an affair anymore. Just a little bit of strange on the side, you know. Got a bit of spare money. Why the hell not? No lie. Down the road from me, there's literally like 2 brothels, like just within walking distance from mine.
I also suspect the reason for the divorce rate being lower is because men weren't having affairs and getting caught. They were able to just go to a nice sneaky brothel.
Yeah.
Get a bit, and no one was going to tell the missus, or, you know, I suspect. But I mean,
listen, I'm confidentiality.
I'm the ultimate libertarian. I think within reason, you should be allowed to do what you want.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there should be like any. So I was very much, you know, like a supporter of the whole vaccine thing, and the people should get vaccinated and all that, and to follow the science, you know, like be really, really into it. It's all cool, you know. It's quite a normal thing, but at the same time, I am not a fan of people being forced to have to do it. I don't think that should ever be. I don't think that can be a thing.
That's my position too. I think you can't fucking mandate vaccinations. It's wrong. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. And it's the same reason that, you know, just to dot around a little bit, it's the same reason that the death penalty should be illegal. You know what I mean? It's the same. It's that same thing. It's about what the state can make you do and what it can't.
Did you say should be legal or shouldn't be legal?
Shouldn't be, because, you know, we all know right-wing fucking commentators that are like, yeah, bring back the death penalty. Yeah.
You know, I would be a lot more for the death penalty if I really believed in the justice system. And one thing I've learned from doing the Kd Hinken comedy podcast, the conspiracy, but also we do true crime stuff. The majority of the stories we cover, it's always because of, you know, there's a lot of mistakes that have been made, or, you know, people walked from trials because of ridiculous things, or, you know, both sides of the coin, you know.
I think for me, the argument's much more nuanced. I don't believe the state should ever have power over life and death. And I think once you allow execution, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You know what I mean? So the same reason that a court shouldn't be allowed to force an abortion.
Yeah, I don't. That seems crazy to me. I didn't even know that would be even discussed.
But it can. The court can force an abortion.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But I don't think it should be allowed to.
In what situation would that ever happen? Like, I've never heard of that before.
I don't know.
I don't know why they would ever do that.
Well, let's have live research.
Yeah.
Live research on the podcast. Come on, Colin. Newsflash. Can the court force an abortion? Let's make sure I've got my facts right first.
No, I mean, I could imagine a court. I mean, a judge can kind of do anything. I don't know. That seems crazy to me. Why that would ever happen? Found anything?
Yeah.
Oh God. Please tell me about this.
Yeah, so no. You can a court order abortion? Yes, it can.
Yeah.
But when it did in 2019, a woman appealed because the court decided that in the case of somebody with a mental health issue, they could force an abortion. But her mother went, hold on a minute, dickheads. Isn't that just isn't that almost eugenics?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is horrific.
Euthanasia.
You know what I mean? That you shouldn't be able to, you know. Abortion's a funny issue anyway, because we're two men. You know what it's like. If you're talking to your missus and she mentions being pregnant, and you say even abort, you fucked up. You know what I mean? It's just it's a woman's issue, isn't it? It's one of them things that.
See, I don't believe in that. I mean, it's the child's issue. It's not the woman's issue or the man's issue. It's the child's issue after a certain point, anyway. Like, I don't know. I was in mine, like, because we didn't plan the first. Like, we had that discussion, and it was completely amicable. We just decided to keep,
Yeah, but, I mean, we already had 2 kids. I moved in with a woman with children, so when she fell pregnant, there was never a discussion because it was planned with the other one. The other one. I
just always, I don't buy into that. The concept like only certain people can discuss certain things, and now I don't buy into that. Everyone's allowed an opinion about something.
No, I'm not saying. Yeah, I agree, but I
know that's not what you were saying, but
be a bit more careful, especially being white men. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, in society, for the first time in an age, for the first time in 1,000 years, occasionally white men have to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I think that another thing, though. I mean, everyone should just be treated on the same level. I think that's the whole idea of cancel culture going a little. Yeah, cancel culture goes a little bit too far. Well, a lot too far sometimes. And I think I've always thought this, that cancel culture. I used to say cancel culture doesn't exist, but I realized that was the wrong way to phrase it, because I just believe that it only exists when you give it power. If you adhere to it, and not just the person getting accused of it. I mean, everyone else too. Like, companies evolved as well. Like Spotify right now are standing behind Joe Rogan, for example.
I had an argument with a friend of mine, a very, very close friend of mine. She got quite upset with me, actually, but what we were talking about was and you'll see how it ties in at the end. How I think, right, that my daughter should be allowed to wear whatever she wants, right? She should be allowed to dress how she likes. She could be able to put as much flesh on show as she wants, right? Now, I might not like it as her dad, right? Yeah. But I don't have the right to stop that. However, when my daughter was growing up, I didn't teach her that she could wear anything she wanted. I taught her that perhaps being a bit more conservative in how you dress is better for you. Now, my friend told me that I was a sexist, and I got quite angry about it, because my philosophy is that she can wear anything she wants, but until men have finished evolving, which we haven't yet, and we have to be honest. We have to be honest enough to say men have been cunts, and they're still
men are terrible.
Yeah,
I would say this: men are terrible.
Still got catching up to do. So until men catch up, we've still got to teach our girls to be a little bit conservative. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is the thing. It's not a lie. I was going to say this when you were saying it. I just didn't want to interrupt you, but it's not a lie what you said. The two are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, but we're talked to by certain branches. Like, as I say, my friend was a woman, and she said that I was being sexist by saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah, which part exactly is sexist?
Because I'm telling her how to dress, because of the way men behave. But that's the reality. I'm preparing my girls for the world as it is, not the world as it ought to be.
Yeah, I go more your way, to be honest. I do exactly. I mean, I've got boys, so it's obviously different. But still, even then, like, I tell them all the time, like, well, not all the time, but, like, the oldest is getting a bit older now. He's, like, getting ready to go to secondary school, for example. And I let him know there's dicks in the world, dude. Like, you need to be aware of this. You can't just trust everyone you're around, Sadly, the world isn't like that.
I taught my kids one basic rule, and I'll paraphrase Jim Jeffries. Just try not to be a cunt. And you know what I mean? If you go through life and you're not a knob, you'll get on in life all right.
Yeah. I mean, we're all knobs sometimes. Don't get us wrong, though. Especially as comics, you know that.
I always wanted sounds proper comedy. Try not to be a dick. But I don't think my business partner will allow it.
But you want to do the tagline for that?
Yeah, just don't be a dick. Sounds proper comedy. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, it sounds like a good advertising tagline, if not like a proper one. There's a good little advert there. So like, what have you got coming up on the Sounds Proper Comedy? I forgot to mention earlier, actually, like to let people know. And don't die as well. But,
well, tomorrow
let people
night.
know, yeah, and where it is as well. We'll do it again at the end, the plug, but I meant to do it earlier for you and I forgot.
Tomorrow night, we've got our first online show on EST, on Eastern Standard Time. So it's a show that's going out at 8 p.m. Canadian time. So that's 1 a.m. UK time.
Oh wow.
I'm not hosting it. We've got 2 Canadian comics that are going to host it. I'm playing tomorrow. I'm playing the first one. But it's just got more of a focus on North American comics. And we'll throw a couple of European comics in just for good measure every now and again.
Will we be able to watch this, like, because I don't know for sure if this will be out before that then, but would people be able to see it, like, afterwards still?
It's going to be a monthly show.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be a monthly show. It's going to be, the first Sunday of the month. And they can find that on, they can check us out on Sounds Proper Comedy on Facebook.
Oh.
And www.soundspropercomedy.com. We have a sort of website. It doesn't quite finish yet. Website building's a pain in the arse, man.
Oh, it is, man. I was doing it for my KD creative stuff that I was doing, which I'm not really doing as much now, but I'm be working a website for my KD comedy Inc. stuff as well. So it's a ball ache.
Yeah. So do you think we can get a TV company to pay us to sit in a room and take drugs for a few weeks?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I guarantee there's a company out there somewhere. There's definitely a company out there somewhere that would do that.
I'm going to the Isle of Wight with Griff.
Oh, yeah.
And Leanne. And Alex Leam.
Is that like for one of the festival things?
No, it's for a gig. They're paying the transport and we get a little bit of money.
Oh, wow.
And they're paying the transport. It's on the Isle of Wight, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be fun. What else we got coming up?
You're going to be at mine.
I'm going to be at yours in a week, and that's the week after next, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Right
that's
there.
The week after next. I'm in Cambridge on Tuesday doing a show called Blue Moon Comedy Club. And that'll be a good show. Don Biswas is playing on that bill. Do you know Don?
Don Biswell, did you say?
Biswas, yeah.
The name sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know him.
He's a political comic. Indian heritage, British Indian.
I like all the political stuff anyway. I like all that kind of stuff. I'm
He's
a lot more into that.
To be honest, he's one of my favourite comics. I quite like it. I like him a lot. But he's recording a Radio 4 special very soon. And I've never met him in real life, so I'm really looking forward to meeting him, actually.
It is weird, isn't it, from doing all this online stuff? Like, you suddenly realise, like, you feel like you know so many people, but then you suddenly realise how few of them you've met, like, in real life.
I did a gig in Bournemouth, right? That's 250 miles from my house. I turned up there and I knew half the lineup. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Half the lineup I'd gigged with online. Do you know what I mean?
From doing all my stuff, like the quiz off especially, you know, I've met so many people doing that, man. Like, so many extra contacts. It's just really nice as well.
I like it, man.
And it just helps.
I think it's brilliant, and I think that's the place for the Zoom shows as well. Let's give the Zoom shows some air for a minute. A lot of comics, and I guess even you to a degree, a lot of comics, right, did some Zoom shows at the beginning, and it put them off. And
I didn't do any. I didn't do any at the beginning.
Zoom gigs, right? But you've been to one of our Zoom shows. Everybody's got their cameras and mics on. You get some feedback. You can, they're never going to replace live gigs. But if I have 20 minutes of new material to try, would I go to a comedy club on a Tuesday night where I can only do 10 minutes. Therefore, I've got to do two open mics to do, or would I just do 20 minutes in front of my fucking virtual audience? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? My reputation's not on the line because I'm not in front of a promoter. You know what I mean? I think there's a place for Zoom in development. That's where it is.
I agree with that.
I've passed 100 gigs. Right? I only started doing stand-up in February.
No,
you know what I mean? And I've passed 100 gigs. I've done 30 odd live, which I really have done a lot, considering how long. But I did probably 70. I've MC'd probably 45 gigs.
Which is one of the harder things to do as well. When I say hard as well, it's one of the things that helps you develop the most too.
And I think it's hard with Zoom as well, which is why we do it as a team, which is why we normally have two hosts, because it's a bit...
I like that anyway. I like that dynamic, to be honest. I've never really thought about it like that, but it's when I saw you doing this, that was a weird way to say it. When I saw you two doing this, it's like a TV show kind of thing, you know, how you always have the presenters on a TV show. You always have you have that little bit of banter back and forth. It works. Nice.
I think, I mean, me and Rachel have done a lot together. We've probably done 50 shows together. Do you know what I mean? And so it looks, but occasionally we both have co-hosts, and sometimes it's harder than others.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So what you do is when you work with someone else, you realise how well me and Rachel know each other. Because it's so much easier with her. But we've had some great co-hosts. I co-hosted with the Socks. That was a good night. Did the Falsetto Sock Puppet Theatre.
Oh, you said about this actually.
Experience.
What was involved in that thing? Because I know you said about that, but I haven't had it. Well, I didn't see it.
They were just Rachel for the night.
Okay.
They were just Rachel for the night. It was hilarious, man. It was
so talking as well, then I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it was funny as hell because Kev said to me, the guy that does the socks, he's like, Cole, the socks don't really go off script. I'm like, you'll be all right, don't worry. And they do go off script. He's full of shit. You know what I mean? They're magnificent. I have the pleasure of seeing them live, and they are really good live.
You know what? You might agree with this as well, then, because I'll say one criticism I have, like that I've noticed with a lot of comedians in general, is that a lot of people, I think, take the comedy stuff a bit too seriously sometimes. They're not as willing, like, to just have a laugh, do something silly. You know, it's like a lot of people feel like they have to have the highbrow kind of comedy, or like the silly stuff isn't as good. Like just for example, like Mrs. Brown's Boys, like that's a lower form of wit. Everyone's like, ugh, or just silly stuff like having sock puppets on. You know.
Yeah, I'm not Puritan at all. When it comes to my own comedy, I feel better in front of a Radio 4 audience than a Radio 1.
I don't know the difference.
When I'm telling a joke, it requires you to follow what I'm saying. If you miss something, you might not get the punchline. You know what I mean? So there's an element of, I don't think I'm pretentious with it, but I think
some people just don't listen.
Some
people just don't listen.
Yeah, I think I'm, I did a gig in and I perhaps shouldn't have said actually. I perhaps should have disguised the place it was. There's nothing worse than telling a joke and hearing three people from different points of the audience go, I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And it's the ridiculousness as well of why, like, you think you'd need to make you aware of it, to the ego on that, or I don't know what it is. It would make you feel like
it's just in it. There's nothing worse as a comic than, and I've only had it the once. It was that one particular gig in bleep. It was that one particular gig where 2 or 3 people in the audience, I heard them go, I don't get it. It's just like, oh, why do I fucking bother?
Oh, man, I think I was talking to you about this before, though. I kind of enjoy sometimes, like, when a gig goes off the rails for whatever reason. That's one thing I really like about, like, gigs in person and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just the anything can happen kind of aspect to it, you know. And
my last gig that I did, my first gig back this year, that's got a. Every gig comes with. I see why comedians talk about gigs on stage now, because you get some funny shit, right? I do a bit in the beginning of my set where I introduce myself and I talk about being called Colin, right? There were three Collins in the audience.
Yeah.
There's never normally any.
I've only ever met one before.
The MC in his first bit was made note of the fact they were all called Colin, come off after he'd bought the opening act, looked to me and went, shit, I've just realised your name's Colin as well, isn't it? So he just fucking caused a stink and drawn attention to the name Colin. And it unsettled me, man.
Yeah, because you had something like built, like triggered set to a certain point.
Indifferent.
Yeah.
Wait till the point where being called Colin came up. I had to address it straight away. Otherwise, the audience weren't going to let me move on.
Yeah, and it wouldn't seem natural as well. Like,
it was hilarious.
I'm trying to think about that and like weird like things like that at the beginning. You know, I've been called the wrong name quite a few times actually going on stage, which is like, which is why I changed my name to KD. Stage name, like my initials, used them. So I thought people can't mess up letters, you know. And then like I got tagged in something from the Holly Bush for the first time, and it just came up as JD. Okay, I was mistaken about that. Then they can get it wrong. I get called Khan more than anything. Really strange. Very strange that people will look at me and think my name's Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is quite a shock.
But that happens a lot, supposedly.
If I was interviewing you for a job and the application form said Khan and you turned up, I'd be thinking that there was a booking error.
Yeah.
Because not only are you very, very white, but you're a little bit ginger.
A little bit. I get told this. I think it's beautiful, personally. I used to get bothered by that when people said like your hair's like turning ginger. I'm like, no, it's not, man. What are you on about? Ginger's cool though.
I'm half ginger, man. I've always had a ginger beard.
You do have a glorious head of hair though. But people that are only listening to this podcast, you don't appreciate. You need to Google Colin Etches right now and see that beautiful head of hair.
I can't take any credit for it, I'm afraid. It just grows like that.
You can maybe take a bit of credit.
It's funny. But we're white male comics. We've got to have something distinctive about us. You know what I mean? You've got
that is true, actually, isn't it?
You've got the kind of I don't know, almost the baby face drug addict thing going on. And I've got the sort of 40-year-old ex-rocker thing going on. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I got the tiny tongue as well. That helps.
Tiny Tongue Strongman was hilarious.
Huh?
Your song about having tiny tongue.
Thank you. That was the debut of it as well. I've got to rework a few little things from it still.
I quite like it.
I like musical kind of comedy.
Ems, do you know Ems?
Yeah, I know Ems. She's been on the quiz and I've done a lot of random stuff with Ems.
She does a song about bodily functions and social etiquette. That's really funny as well.
See, I've never seen her perform. It's the thing. I've done a lot of podcasts and she's been on the quiz quite a lot too, but I've never actually seen her perform. But she is talking about coming down to do the Clubhouse gig sometimes. That'll be good. I have no idea. Far away, I think. You're Nottingham, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was right. Okay. It's not too far for you, is it, at least then?
No.
One thing I forgot to mention on the flyers or about this gig is there is actually like a cheap hotel just up the road, a Holiday Express for anyone who wants to stay over to. It makes it so much easier.
I'm buying a van this year.
You're going to do the mattress in the back?
Yeah, I'm going to convert something. Yeah, make it look nice.
Yeah, good, man.
Me and the missus drive all over the place doing comedy.
Oh, your lady partner does comedy too?
No, no way, man. I couldn't live with another comedian. Fuck me.
I've seen a comedian once. It was strange, to be fair.
What?
I was seeing a comedian once. It was strange.
There's not enough room for my ego and another ego in this house.
I understand that.
If there's anything more important than my ego around here, I want it caught and shot.
So how do you feel about, I know we talked about like just switching gears completely. Like I know you talked about conspiracies and that. One thing I did want to ask your opinion on, aliens, all the stuff that's been coming out. What is your opinion on it? Just want to say that to you, aliens. How do you feel straight away?
I think they're out there. They must be. I mean, I think it'd be a weird fucking quirk of nature if they'd only spurned life in one place.
Yeah.
I'm a realist. There's a lot of fucking planets, a lot of suns. You know what I mean? It stands to reason that there'd be aliens. I guess I do have a few questions though. Why do they always end up going to places like Fife, Alabama? You know what I mean? Not Washington, where the powerful people live. And two, another comedian, I can't remember who it was, asked this question: why, having crossed the entire breadth of space, do they get here and crash?
I mean, that's not exactly. I suppose a better way to put it would be, how do you feel about all the evidence that's come out then over the last like couple of years during the pandemic time? Strange enough, like, all these videos that have come out and been confirmed by the Pentagon and all that. You know,
the problem is, there was so much bad UFO stuff on television.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I tend not to watch any of it now. Do you know what I mean? And you know, if they're,
it's hard to get rid of that stink that's already there.
Yeah, and I just think that, of course, there's other life out there. It'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
probability-wise, yeah, it's impossible.
How much we know on this planet, that I don't know. Is there an Area 51? Well, the American government says there is, but has it got a UFO in it? I don't.
Yeah,
you
the place exists. You know, yeah, we can see that.
To be honest, the problem I have with conspiracy theories, and it's the reason they're dangerous now, is because the last 2 years has been mental. You know, my pal Dave had said to me 2 years ago that I'd be queued outside the supermarket and I'd be, you know, like I'm outside a nightclub and I'd be locked in my house for 2 years. I'd have told him to get back on his tinfoil bus. You know what I mean? So now I'm in a position where I'm smart enough to be able to distinguish, but your average man in the street is not very bright. And to your average man in the street, you know what I mean? That, because that's been so mental, his perception of what's mental has changed. So the royal family might be lizards. I don't know.
This is the thing. So many conspiracies, though. It's just like so many conspiracy theories, which I find interesting because of the psychology behind them. But so many of them just come out of nowhere. It's like, where are you getting this from? Like the lizard one is a perfect example.
The American elite drinking blood and it's all processed in Oprah's kitchen. I mean, how specific is that?
Yeah.
Right, how specific is that? I mean, if it's true, it's the luckiest guess in the history of guesses.
Yeah.
It's not just processed somewhere, it's processed at Oprah, and it's not just processed at Oprah's house, it's processed in Oprah's kitchen.
Above her sink, her personal sink.
Yeah, just how specific.
Well, how much the cleanup that would come from that?
If you want to have a conspiracy theory, my advice to you is be vague.
Yeah. Well, I don't know though, because then you become the Earth is flat. That's quite vague, but it's not. So
no, but just like that's the issue. And I once genuinely had the same conspiracy theorist friend in the same conversation, because I do a bit where I combine a couple of conversations I've had with him.
Yeah,
and we genuinely had a conversation, and he said to me in one sentence that COVID's fake. And in the very next sentence said he didn't want 5G because it gives you COVID.
Oh, God. What? Not only are both of those statements like, you want to delve into each of them so much, the two of them together.
Those two sentences leave far more questions than they answer.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. A hell of a lot more. And then combining them.
What the fuck, you melon?
I've met some people that it's the thing, and you hope that a lot of the time that these people don't really exist, but and I get why. To an extent, I get why there's so much distrust in the government.
It's not distrust, though. Really, it's disillusionment. It's apathy. It's where the government has been systematically trying to turn 50% of the population off since the beginning of actual democracy.
Yeah. It's
deliberate apathy growing and breeding. You know what I mean? It's like they behave like such fucking cunts that 50% of the population go, I'm not going to bother turning out to vote because there's nothing to vote for. So essentially what you've got is a government that's elected by approximately 50% of the population.
Well, if only 50% are voting, then it's only be more like 30% because it'd just be whatever percentage of the people that voted for them,
If you wanted to launch a new political party, and I think maybe one day, right, comedians, but I like it. Yeah, I think we could. I think we'd do well in elections.
I think Ukraine had a prime minister who was a comedian. I think it was Ukraine.
Yeah,
a few years back. So you can do it.
But yeah, if you really wanted to be a successful political party and you wanted to be new, you'd appeal to the 50% that don't vote.
Yeah. Well, they tried to do that in America, didn't they?
Forget about the voters that already vote for parties. Fuck them. They took the red pill. Do you know what I mean? They're just voting for the elite and the status quo. Because that's what that is. That's voting to keep shit the way it is. It doesn't matter whether it's red, yellow, or blue in charge. The result is the same.
I completely agree with that. That's exactly what I say, yeah.
To change shit, you get out and you talk to that 50% of people that don't vote. Because if you mobilise them, you'd win an election.
Yeah. That's essentially what they tried to do in America, wasn't it? In the last election. What they were really, I don't know, to be fair, I have no idea how successful that was. How many more people voted, but it was a freaking America's fucking like our we're just as bad actually. America is just as bad as us. So we're both shit shows in both. But Joe Biden right now, you go from Trump to Biden. And they're really talking about Trump being a real viable candidate to be the next president again. I didn't even know you could do that.
I don't know, man. I don't think Biden will stand next time.
You'll be able to by his own free will, anyway.
Not without the aid of a walking device.
Yeah. Dude needs a walker, man.
Listen, right, as a comedian, I miss Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Actually, no.
You know, the comedian in me really misses him. Do you know what I mean? And you know what? The way Johnson's turned out, Trump wasn't that bad.
No, I know what you mean.
I'm not saying Trump would have been better than Boris Johnson, but it wouldn't have been a lot worse.
Trump was more, it was almost like he was essentially, when it comes to running the actual country, he was more of a non-factor than a negative impact, you know.
The one thing that Trump had going for him is Trump's a delegator. So Trump will be an expert, someone that knows the field, and he'll put him in that job, right? Not because he's a good manager, but because he's fucking lazy.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? What Trump's good at doing is putting together a team. You know, so we would have done very little inside that administration, man. He'd have had all his little fucking gremlins. Do you know what I mean? And I think, definitely. But as a comedian, I fucking miss him, man.
I know what you mean because of all the jokes and that, like you can get from him.
Towards the end of his term, we were all getting to the point where we were saying, it's not funny now, it's beyond the joke.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly why I don't miss him anymore, like in that sense. For my own personal entertainment, yeah, sure, I miss him. But yeah, for saying it on stage, it got old fast. The same thing with COVID now is pretty much got to that point. Like joking about COVID, nothing wrong with joking about anything, in my opinion. Nothing should be off the table for anyone. It just gets a bit boring after a while. COVID's getting to that point now. I briefly touch on it for a second, just to do a lead into a joke later on. You'll see. I've changed it around.
Have you got a favourite joke, right, that you wrote during COVID that now doesn't apply anymore? Because I have. I did this joke right at the very beginning when we were in the middle of lockdown, where I said, "Look, to be honest, right, I don't have much of an issue with the Russian vaccine because I'm needle phobic and it's got an easy applicator door handle." Because of the Salisbury thing with the poison.
Yeah. I was thinking in my head. It took me a second, but yeah.
I love that joke, but it's fucking completely fucking nothing now. What other pandemic jokes did I write? I wrote a joke about the fact that COVID had kind of ended all faith in humanity that I had, given that up to 1 million people had died of COVID and Boris Johnson and Donald Trump were still alive.
Yeah. Boris had it as well, and he just breathed through it.
Yeah, so they both had it. Do you know what I mean? So
I forget. Yeah, the Trump had it as well, did he?
Yeah, that still works as a joke. I think that's still moderately funny. But the only joke I tell about the pandemic now is about my two sad things about the pandemic, and that's the joke about Trump and Boris still being alive. And the other joke is I make a joke about before the pandemic, I used to get quite turned on by a girl in medical mask and gloves. Not anymore.
No. I've generally heard weirder still.
Yeah.
I had a little bit that I used to do, like where I just would talk. At first about the stuff that we learned through the pandemic, that kind of stuff, which would just be leading up to the fact that I learned that I no longer have to fear going bald because I look good with a shaved head, basically. That's like the main thing that I took away from the pandemic, Yeah. And also how in Britain I love Britain. Like an example of why I love living in Britain is the one thing that we did not run out of was bud. Dealers were always there, they were always available, never let you down. Like my one anyway, I was in love. But it's like a love letter to my illegal florist.
Yeah. I think I wrote a joke about, because I talk about being dyspraxic, and I talk about the fact that the pandemic actually made the world a bit more neurodiverse friendly, because now people are aware of where they're putting themselves and they're not crossing your path and they're not getting in your way. And
yeah,
and I said, and in any case, if that fails, just start coughing and spluttering, because that's more effective than shouting bomb in a crowded tube station.
Yeah, it would be now. Yeah, I'm very much like that. I'm not I don't like people like being all up in my personal space. So I love the whole social distancing.
Me too, and that's part of that joke. Is the intro in that joke is that I love social distancing. It's fucking brilliant. I hope it stays. I hope
I talk about that too.
We all stay the fuck away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I generally miss that. I don't think there was any other general stuff. That's the thing. Like my sets changed so much, which is why I know I've got over 20 minutes of decent material, because I had a completely different set like 5 months ago that I was doing.
I work more than one set at a time, though. I've got probably 4, depending on what somebody wants. So I've got a really nice 20 that can be a 25-30 if it needs to be.
Have you got them all in your head, like learned?
No, I've learned them all, more or less.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things, I think. Like, that's just me, though. My memory is terrible.
But I work in 10, 15-minute bits. And then, you know what I mean? So, I did a 30-minute at Nottingham Comedy Festival, And what I'm doing at the moment is I'm working on 20 minutes of that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so I just took a chunk out and I'm playing with it, and then I've got a 20 to 25 that I'm using to apply to to apply for paid spots.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which I've got my first paid opening spot next month.
Okay, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm trying to get it to at the moment as well, like get that kind of thing.
And I'm lucky because it's a friend of mine, and I did her gig the other night, and she liked it, so she enjoyed it so much, and the audience loved. After I left, she rung me up later and said the audience absolutely loved you, Colin. They said, "Have you got?" She said, "I know you did a 10 at this one." She said, "But if you're happy to come back and you've got 20 minutes of material, then come back and open it."
That's just exactly what you want to hear, isn't it? So
yeah, 40 quid. The money's not great, but it's
not about that.
It's Markfield. It's a 34-minute drive from our house.
It's not about that anyway, is it? It's about like getting that's your first paid spot, like you said, so you can use that to get more.
But never an opening spot. That goes on CV. Have been paid opener for Jack of Clubs comedy. That goes on the CV that you then send out to get other gigs, innit?
Yeah, your comedy CV, man. Exactly the same for me with the Midland Comedy Award finalist thing. That's one of those things that I got told, always put that on your CV, always mention that on things now. Which is why it's like at the bottom of this flyer that I'm handing around, it's at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I want to get into doing more. I want to build up as well now. I know we need to push up to get to 20 minutes, paid opener spots, that kind of thing too. But I also want to do a lot more MCing as well. So I really like MCing. I like hosting.
Me too. I've got. I start running a quiz night tomorrow night. Not for me, for someone else, but it's 40 quid for 2 hours work. Is
that like online or?
No, it's live in a venue.
Cool.
And the venue have asked him already to do a comedy night.
There you go, yeah.
And he doesn't do comedy nights really, but he can. And I've said to him, well, if we get on and it goes well and the venue like me, then you put it on in your name and we'll do all the backgrounds. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to go down to Nottingham. We'll do it in association with Sounds Proper, and we'll book the acts. I'll MC the night. You don't even need to come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that would be nice if I could get... I'd like some regular paid MC work.
Yeah.
I need 100 quid a gig. That's what I'm trying to get to. Because then I can do 15, 16 gigs a month and I'm all right. I don't need to work then. And then I can look at Then the first step is getting to... That's for me the next stage now, is getting to...
Yeah, that's your next...
Where I'm going 100 quid a night.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That's very much like my way of thinking too. You always want to have like a target to work to. Well, a couple like the opener spots in the MCing for me at the moment as well. And also my next one I've had for a while is I want to do one of the comedy tents to download. I really want to do that.
Yeah.
That would be so much fun, I think. And you get to get the download for free as well,
Yeah, I love... I'd quite like to do some festival comedy next summer. I think Sounds Proper, though. I think we're going to approach a couple of festivals that don't do comedy already.
Yeah.
And,
I was going to say, a lot of them do, though, I think, don't they?
Yeah, some of them. But I think we could still get into one or two.
I tell you, it's worth trying still.
But, oh, God, we're still recording, aren't we?
Yeah, did you not? Was that not supposed to be told?
I don't know. I can't remember what I've said now.
About that you're going to try and look into doing comedy at festivals.
Yeah, that'd be wicked. I'd love to do comedy and out in festivals. Yeah, that'd be wicked.
Yeah,
but I mean, pro comics, they're not bothered, are they? They're like, I don't think they really like doing it. I think the money's good.
What was that? Sorry, I didn't.
You hear pro comics talk about doing the festivals and and it doesn't sound like a pleasant experience.
No,
most comedians aren't really the festival going types.
Yeah.
Public school.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And even if they're not posh, they're usually middle class-ish.
Yeah, I was about to say exactly that. It is strange, actually. Now you say that, there is a lot of middle class comics. I know quite a few. But
I mean, I'm working class as hell, right? But my kids were raised in a middle class way because I don't think class equates to money anymore. I think because
no.
the economy, middle class people are skinned too.
Yeah, especially with the cost of living going up now.
Middle class is more a way of doing things.
Yeah,
It is an economic position now.
yeah.
So like.
Just another style, like you got middle class, you got working class, like you said, you got chavs, you got goths.
I know our kids were raised middle class, even though me and their mum were relatively working class, right? Because we had books on the shelves.
Yeah, like a Weatherspoons. You can't get more middle class than that.
You know what I mean? Like Rob Beckett talks about going to his in-laws for the first time because apparently they're quite posh, right? And he's like, there's no TV in the lounge, and he's like, what does everything point at then?
It's a fucking fair point, though.
You know what I mean?
It's a really true point.
There's another comedian that talks about you're in a working class house when the TV's too big for the room it's in.
Yeah.
You got an 80-inch screen in a 6x4 bedroom.
I remember the days though, when a big TV, like, used to walk in. I knew someone that had one just like that. And you'd walk in, and yeah, it was big, but the technology wasn't really there, so it just made it really fuzzy.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that would have these big ass TVs at the time, and I never understood that.
And do you remember the first big ass TVs? How heavy were they?
Oh, do you mean the ones with the backs?
Yeah, mate, the ones with the backs. They've all got backs, but I don't know. There'll be a lot of listeners of the podcast that won't have been around when TVs weren't light as a feather.
Exactly, when they were flat, like they're flat now. Like, even the first flat screens weren't flat at all, were they? Like they are now.
Yeah, no, the TV, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Moving house in the old days, everything's so much more lightweight now.
Have you seen, like, they've literally got now ones that are just a piece of glass? So if you looked at it and it wasn't on, it just looks like a piece of glass on a wall.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Obviously, that would be a ridiculous amount of money. I don't even know if they're commercially available, but they have them.
I don't know. It's a fascination, isn't it? Make it smaller. Steve Jobs was like that, wasn't it? I don't know if it's an urban myth or not, but Steve Jobs with one of the iPhones, it was either the 4 or the 5 or something, right? He took it, the worker took it to him, and he's gone, make it smaller. He's gone, we can't make it any smaller. It's as small as we can make it. So he threw this billion-dollar prototype in the fish tank, right? It sunk, and bubbles came out of it. There's still some air in there, make it smaller.
I can't even argue with that logic as well. That's the worst part.
Honestly, man, I don't know if it's a myth or not.
I mean, he had a terrible diet, didn't he, though? And which is essentially, I think, no, I'm not actually sure what killed him, actually, but I know he had a terrible diet.
Wasn't he? Had personal hygiene issues.
Yeah, he's just a very weird guy, wasn't he, with the stuff he did? Very quirky, but like a lot of them really smart people are for some reason.
I like Steve Jobs, man. I love the idea, though, that he's like, you can imagine being the geezer going, look, we can't make it any smaller. And as he throws it in the fish tank, you'd be like, my work, that's worth $10 million, sir.
And then you'd also be...
He says, never mind that. There's bubbles coming out of it. There's air in that.
And the person saying it's his $10 million as well.
Yeah, he's like, make it smaller. There's air in there.
Like, with that kind of fascination, though, like going forward with the constant need to like make better technology, are you one of these people that buys into AI will eventually, like take over, or just AI, in general?
I don't like AI because I've seen Terminator and iRobot.
iRobot, especially.
I'm a bit wary. I feel a bit like we're at the beginning of a really bad sci-fi movie. You know what I mean? And we're sat there going, Oh, it'll be fine. It won't be like the movies. And then it's going to be like the movies, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's going to be like the movies.
I like Elon Musk's way of looking at it. Is like he was saying he used to be really scared of it when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He used to be really scared of it, but now he just has a nihilistic, I think it is, outlook on it. It's like, it could be okay. It could destroy humankind. Yeah, we'll wait and see. Nothing you can do about it. He's like, it's going to happen. He's saying he's of the opinion as well that it's going to happen either way. That AI is going to someone is always going to make it somewhere, and it's always going to happen. It's part of evolution. I don't know.
Yeah, I think like anything in it, I find most technologies in history have been relatively harmless. It's when you cross a man with the said technology.
Oh, so, yeah.
Einstein, the theory of relativity and all that, and E equals MC squared, and right, he effectively cracked the problem that was stopping them creating the atom bomb. Do you know what I mean? But he didn't know that at the time. You know what I mean? He didn't know that he was giving them the final mathematical piece to create the atom bomb. Or maybe he did. I like to hope he didn't.
Yeah, because isn't the idea it was someone else, wasn't it, that built it, but they did it through his research or something?
They used his mathematical equations because Einstein was involved in the splitting of the atom, wasn't he?
Yeah, but not directly in.
Took part in the calculations, didn't he?
I mean, they say he didn't directly take part in the making of the bomb, but he could have done, like you said.
Well, he did. I mean, he did. To all intents and purposes, he did.
Knowingly, sorry.
But knowingly, no, I like to hope not, But he did look like a crazy bastard. I mean, look at his barnet.
Have you seen him on the new adverts now popping up? On the electricity adverts?
Yeah. They're all a bit mad. Nikolai Tesla, they were all a bit I think genius and insanity, there's a fine line between the two, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's especially true with creative people as well.
Yeah.
Like, creative people, we're weird people, let's be honest. I'm sure you agree. Like, just all very quirky, and all that kind of stuff. Basically, everything you were saying about your people, like, that's how I see comedy people.
Temperament goes with it. That's the problem. There's an artistic temperament.
Yeah.
And it's the artistic temperament that makes us a bit moody. And because I don't know about you, but I'm a bit moody. And, I am quite almost a personification of the kind of tears of a clown. Do you know what I mean? I don't rage through life making jokes. You know what I mean? I wasn't the class clown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most people say to you when they find out you're a comic, yeah, I bet you were the class clown. I wasn't. You know what I mean? I was quite solitary and
yeah. I know what you mean exactly. Like I wasn't the class clown, sorry, but in my group of friends, I was very much the idiot, the clown, only with the people I was really comfortable with.
Whereas I always told funny stories, you know what I mean? But I wasn't a joker as such. Nobody would be going, oh, Colin, yeah, he's fucking funny. You know what I mean? It wasn't,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But equally, I know people that tell great stories that would be shit comedians. Because as much as I use stories I've been telling for years, I've still gone through the process of writing them.
Yeah.
And I've embellished and I've changed things. And
yeah, it is all about rewriting real life stuff, which is why I like the same with music as well. You have to live, like the Zen way of looking at it, you have to live life before you can write about it or before you can make music about it.
Having said that, a very wise man once told me, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I don't know, I tell a story about last Valentine's Day. And we'd been living together under lockdown for a year. We moved in together because of lockdown. It was
we're
in together or we're not going to be able to see each other. And I opened the joke with roses are red, violets are blue. You're sick of me and I'm sick of you is what I got in my Valentine's Day card this year. It's lies. Do you know what I mean? And it's a whole bit about how we're sick of each other. We've done the same thing for 300 and odd days and we're sick of it. And there's an element of truth. We were sick of each other. We were, genuinely. But
something a lot of people can what's the word, connect with, emphasize, you know what I mean?
Like one of my favourite jokes I ever wrote is did anyone look at their partner during lockdown and think, I wish I was fucking dead? Because I love that. That's where I expected that to go. You would be expecting me to want the other person to be dead. I think that joke works so much better because I'm saying, oh, I'm so sick of you. I wish I was dead. You know what I mean?
And it's just out of nowhere as well. Like, it's not, well, I thought you was going to go, like, not the loving way. I thought you was going to go the other way, but not that much.
Did you ever, look at your partner during lockdown and think, I wish I was dead? But so there's an element of truth to that story. We did move in together because of lockdown. By last Valentine's Day, I really couldn't have given a fuck about it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And we really were sick of the sight of each other. But at no point did I wish I was dead.
Yeah.
At no point did she sit watching a blank screen with headphones on just because it was preferable to talking to me. You know I mean, it was just a piece of over-exaggeration. Yeah, so you can't let the truth get in the way of a good story. People are expecting us to fib.
Yeah, of course. To embellish, like you said, it's the perfect way as well.
And the better comedians we are, and the more work we put into writing, the easier the audience will find it to suspend their willing disbelief.
Yeah, the suspension of disbelief. Yeah,
it's that.
As a wrestling fan, I know exactly what you mean with that.
Yeah, and it's about, what you've got to make it easy for them, so it can't sound too exaggerated. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, I think there's.
It has to be rooted in truth, something that you can connect with. But
and I do talking about conspiracy theories where I go, look, I know I'm on dodgy ground. Conspiracy theorists and comedians, we've got one key thing in common. We both take a tiny piece of truth and embellish it for effect. You know, and because it's really true. Do you know what I mean? You know, there's the parenting stuff I wrote is a little bit more honest because it's about my experience as a parent. But when I'm talking about God and conspiracy theories, and I'm just showing the world how my autistic brain works, and what it does is it finds the most ridiculous of examples. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to write about the Bible. The Bible's been written about by loads of comics. So I looked for a new angle.
So that's what I was about to say. That's the only reason I don't talk about the Bible and stuff as much anymore. I love doing it, but it's just been done to death. But when you find a new way to do it, it's nice.
Well, I talk about... Have you heard me do my Bible set? You haven't, have you? Have you heard me do
No, I haven't heard you do anything, I don't think.
Talk about... I start with conspiracy theories, and there's not enough autism to take this seriously, because I talk about it being storytelling over time. Do you know what I mean? So, and I talk about the fact that people, and I ask the audience, have you ever played Chinese Whispers? And then everybody's played Chinese Whispers, and you go, I've heard the phrase, me and Dave go down the pub with Danny, turn to Dave's missus has got a massive fanny. In the game of Chinese Whispers.
Oh, yeah.
That. So what I then do is go on to find the ridiculous in the Judas story. So Judas charged with selling Jesus down the river, 30 pieces of silver. Imagine them fucking about in the Garden of Gethsemane after the Last Supper, which of course then would have just been supper. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking, if you got an invite that said you're cordially invited to the Last Supper, I'm not sure you'd turn up. There's a bit of a dark foreboding, isn't there? You know what I mean? So what I then do is I give this image of Judas and Jesus in the garden, bit pissed as they start scrapping. They're having a little scrap. Do you know what I mean, right? Two Romans walk around the corner. A chase ensues. Judas gets to the corner, turns round, Jesus has been nabbed by the feds. Can't resist shouting back. You might be able to walk on water, you prick, but you shit over 100 meters. So the point is that I was trying to make is that I've just tried to be, to just err on the ridiculous. That's what I do as a comic. You know, I mean, if I was going to try and sell myself as a comic, I use ridiculous stories to make really quite startling points. You know, to make really quite serious points, you know, and even the Bible stuff is silly, but it makes the point that just because it is written, it doesn't make it so. What I'm saying here now is as likely to be true as what the good book says.
In the sense that anything could be.
You know what I mean? Which is, and then there's a callback to, so I shouldn't really be cross at Dave, should I? The conspiracy theorist. Do you know what I mean? Because he's no different to the Bible. Do you know what I mean? It's
well, I mean, in that sense, though, I mean, that's like saying we should respect the Bible when I don't think we should respect the Bible. To be fair, though, personally, like
I can't respect it because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
40 days and 40 nights in the Bible, KD. I live in Nottingham. Sometimes it rains for 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And there's no.
I've never had to build so much as a canoe.
Getting into like a realistic, well, to be fair, getting into a realistic, like scientific point of it, there was apparently a big flood around the time with Noah's Ark would have estimated to be from what they were saying, but that is in no way what it was made out to be. You know,
a big flood that flooded the entire of the Holy Land.
As I was about to say, not in any manner.
The entire of the driest part of the world.
But I'm sure that was the case. I might be wrong with that, but I think that was just one person I was listening to was saying it. So I don't know about the truth behind that, but everything else.
Like the nativity story always made me laugh, man, right? It's 90 miles from Nazareth to Bethlehem, right? If you'd have told your 9-month pregnant missus to get on a donkey and you were going 90 miles, what do you think her first response would have been? Fuck you.
I don't know, though. I don't think she would have said much because her husband, Joseph, or wherever they were, boyfriend, is still happy to pretend that he believes that she did not cheat on him and it was God.
I stayed away from that because that's been done to death. Kind of, Jimmy Carr tells the famous joke about if it was on Jeremy Kyle, it'd be like Joseph Mug, Mary slag.
That's the thing, like that straight away though, when we're actually talking about how terrible the Bible is, like that begins it all, and that point straight away at any other time in any other situation, you would not buy that for a second.
No,
you just wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
And surely God could afford a condom. I mean, come on.
Well, and the nativity story gets worse because he gets her on the donkey, doesn't he? Right. And so again, I've lived with a pregnant woman, so have you, right? Yeah. With the baby jumping up and down on her bladder, after how many steps do you think she'd need to get off the donkey to piss again? I'm thinking every 2 or 3.
Yeah, it wouldn't take long.
Yeah, right. The baby would have been born at the side of the road in the desert with the vultures circling. Very different nativity story.
And why wouldn't you just go earlier? Why wouldn't you just make the trip earlier and just like get a hotel room while you're waiting?
Just ridiculous. You know what I mean? And then we've all been hurt. We've all heard this, haven't we? We've all heard our pregnant woman say, if I get down there, I won't be getting back up again.
Yeah.
That would have been her response when he told her to sleep on the stable floor.
Pick a stable out of it. He travelled 90 miles to sleep on a stable floor.
Yeah, man. Right.
And
Mary was the most patient pregnant woman in the history of womandom. You know,
but they both were.
Or the Bible was written by a bloke.
The Bible is all about Jesus that was written like 200 years after Jesus was already dead.
Yeah.
By people that never met Jesus.
Yeah.
Or Mary or Joseph or whatever. But one of the best things I love about it is like they talk about the constellations and that. And that backs up the fact that he was never born at Christmas. He was born like in the March, I think it was. The only reason we celebrate Christmas is just because it fits in with the old pagan holiday. I can't remember what it is. Just the
another
the sun, ain't it?
Another thing about that, isn't it? What happens when you follow a star? You go round in a circle. You know what I mean?
They must have believed the Earth was flat still back then. So
you know what I mean? Why do you go round in a circle? Well, because that's how astrophysics works. Do you know what I mean? They weren't three wise men at all. They were three nominally intelligent boys when they started.
Well, I mean, you can follow a star for a night, but if it's more than one night, then no, they're buggered.
You just go round in a circle.
If you follow the star,
yeah.
Like for one night, you'd never make it to the star, would you? Though, so it would be
because
it'd be pointing north. I mean,
the Earth spins, the star's position changes gradually over a night. So you could follow a star, but ultimately you'd end up going around in a circle.
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's weird actually, because I've always thought about it with scouts and stuff, and they'd say about you can figure out where you are from the stars in the sky. I suppose you would also kind of need to know what time it is.
Yeah, but we're not going to notice if they've only moved, from our perspective, a quarter of a millimeter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so. But yeah, if you followed the star, man, you'd go around in a circle because it would always be in the same place virtually in the sky.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
you have to travel fast to keep up with it.
What I'm saying is it's not the behaviour of all three wise men.
It is indeed not.
You know what I mean?
And surely they should know where they're going anyway if they're that wise as well. And surely if they're that wise too, why are they giving a baby a load of gold and stuff, isn't it? Like frankincense?
Yeah, I mean, baby products would have been better. You know, nappies, wet wipes.
Yeah. Maybe some stitches for Mary. I can't imagine the Son of God was small.
No.
I mean, I was about to say we've all seen the pictures, but the pictures are slightly skewed anyway from reality.
Yeah. I think my favourite part of my ramblings about the Bible is when I start talking about Jesus having disciples. Do you know what I mean? And is there any wonder when he could turn water into wine? You know what I mean? If you had a pal that could turn water into wine, would you let him out your sight?
Do you know the actual facts behind that whole story, though, the water into wine?
No.
Like it's supposed to be, the concept is, though, it was actually, there was water and it took the cut off foreskins from people that had been circumcised and they went into the bottle of water and it turned red and that made it wine.
That's disgusting.
That's apparently where it comes from. I've heard this from a few different things. I haven't explicitly read it in the Bible myself to, fact check it, because I don't care enough to do that, to be honest, to read the Bible. But I could buy it because I don't buy turning water into wine.
No, I'm not buying
it. But that fits perfectly, though, thinking about, like you said, with Jesus having disciples and that, it fits perfectly with what I say about at what point does a cult just become a religion? At what point does a cult become Christianity?
Yeah.
That point.
Well, if Jesus could turn water into wine, it would explain why the Romans wanted him dead. Because if my biggest export's wine and some little twat turns up turning water into it, I'd suspect I'd want to nail him to a cross as well.
One thing I've generally never understood about the whole story, actually, that's one really interesting point. Like they crucified him. I mean, first of all, they did it apparently the right side up, which they would normally do him upside down anyway. But they did it the right side up. But more than anything, they put him in the tomb after, and they would never do that. They would never. That's like a respectful burial in like Roman ways of thinking. Whereas normally they would just like throw him on a heap somewhere. There'd never be any reason for them to do that normally.
You could go and take the body down, I think, if you wanted.
Yeah, you could take it down, but I mean, you wouldn't go put it in a tomb.
I think I think even from because I write my Bible stuff from a place of I'm an A-star A-level RE student, right? And my understanding of the story is that it was in fact his uncle that took him down and put him in a family tomb, a family plot.
Oh, so it was never the Romans anyway then?
Yeah, it wasn't. My understanding of it was is most people were left to rot and get eaten by the birds. But I think once the person was dead, you were allowed to come and claim the body. And
I didn't even know he had any other family, in all honesty. The concept of that.
I'm sure it even mentions in the Bible. I'm sure it even says. That's what I'm saying. I think it was an uncle or someone chopped his body down and put him in the tomb because it was a family tomb. It was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that would make it.
I talk about telling off Jesus when he was a kid. You know what I mean? How can you tell off? You know what I mean? Because I'm a stepdad, and occasionally my kids go, "I'm telling my dad." His dad's a fucking god.
Oh God, yeah, that's a whole other concept. Actually, I didn't even think about it like that.
That was fucking god. You know what I mean? And you can't grab the little bastard because a rock and cave didn't hold him when he was dead.
Oh, fucking hell. Oh, that's great. I'm just imagining like telling off the son of God, and now he could just turn into essentially like a fucking superhero or something. Or go the other way, be a supervillain.
The end of my set is I say, "How do you chastise the son of God?" I'm telling my dad, can't ground him. Do you know what I mean? So I homage Monty Python, and I go, "So you've got Mary and Joseph stood over him doing the parenty waggly finger, going, 'You are the Messiah, but you're a very naughty boy.'"
I don't want to say, yeah. So.
Yeah, so it kind of go, "Yeah, you are the Messiah. You are the Messiah." Because the quote from Life of Brian is, "You're not the Messiah, isn't it? You're a very naughty boy." But obviously, in the context of it, Mary, the Life of Monty Python, the line would be, "You are the Messiah, yes, but you're a very naughty boy."
I've never been a huge Monty Python person myself.
I mean, I'm not a fan. I like Life of Brian a lot. It was just my little homage to them, really.
I tell you one quote I do love, and I've seen the bit so many times now, and it's just gone around my friend circle, which is why it's been in my head so much. The whole "'tis but a flesh wound."
Yeah.
It's a good night all cut up. It's so fucking stupid. So stupid. All of it. But I appreciate it. I have nothing against it. I just haven't watched much of it myself. I used to watch Carry On quite a lot. Like, just I grew up with Carry On films I did.
Yeah.
Are you into them at all?
No, not really. No, I think I don't think for anything particular reason. I kind of missed that. We didn't watch him in the house, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're not the thing you really should watch around children, to be fair.
If you go, I've seen them. I've seen a bit of one recently, and they've not aged very well.
No, but they're still on TV all the time, though.
You know, they've not aged very well, and I think if certain episodes of Only Fools and Horses have been banned, then I would say the Carry On films won't be far behind.
Yeah, to be fair, this is a good thing to talk about before we finish up. Then all the different ones, like the programs that have been cancelled and that, because there's quite a few, isn't there? And it's shocking that something like Carry On is still carrying on. But then, like you said, I didn't even know about an Only Fools and Horses one. Which one was that?
Just certain episodes. It's certain little tweaks. What was I watching the other day? I was watching 2 Pints of Lager, right? And there's a series that I know really well. But I was watching it back on the iPlayer recently, and there's just certain little jokes missing. Just, that's what? Where? And you can see the sort of cancel culture seeping into stuff.
Yeah, it's very obvious. You can tell straight away. Like
Mighty Boosh, right? They didn't ban all of Boosh. They just took off the one episode that's got the blackface in it.
Oh, right? It's not even proper blackface, is it? It's just a character with a natural black face, you know.
Yeah, it's not yet, but the Little Britain one was too far. I mean, I kind of agree with the Little Britain one because I think David Walliams and they should have known better. You know,
I don't know which one in particular, but I'm guessing just one of the characters they dressed up as was black then? Or?
Yeah, there was. I don't know if there was more than one example, but we can't do it anymore, man. We can't. You know what I mean?
So hold on, sorry, hold that thought just for 1 sec. My mum's called.
What are we on about? I think with the Little Britain thing,
that was in Little Britain, yes.
We knew blackface was wrong, right? The Mighty Boots thing, for me, it's been misinterpreted.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? But we knew blackface was wrong, and David Walliams and co. ought to have known better. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, because that was still like, what kind of time was Little Britain like?
It was 2000s, wasn't it? It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it was definitely after the 2000s. It's probably probably like 2002 to 2005, that kind of time.
Yeah,
at least. Yeah.
You know, things like little references in something like Only Fools and Horses. You shouldn't be cancelling stuff because society's changed.
Yeah.
That's part of our cultural heritage. And we might not agree with it, but to cancel it is wrong. Now, if Only Fools and Horses was written today, don't fucking make it. It would be abhorrent. You know what I mean? But we shouldn't be cancelling art and people's stuff because sensibilities have changed.
And then you lose it as well. Like, it's just history. It's already there.
Like pulling the statues down. You don't solve history's problems by erasing it.
Yeah.
These statues serve as reminders, serve as beacons to make sure we don't go there again.
Yeah, like I've talked about this a few times, like the statues in particular. Like I used to be a lot more of that opinion too, like that no, they should just stay there, like, you know, because they've been there, their history. But now I'm also more like fair in mind, it's like, well, statues always change anyway, things always get taken down and things always get redesigned and that updated. As long as there was something there to commemorate like what was there, just like a little plaque just making a point of what was there, like, you know, a statue to this person removed due to changes in, you know, because they were slave traders or whatever, or they had something to do with it. That's what a lot of it is, obviously.
Liverpool and Bristol were built on slave money. Do we pull them down?
No, I mean just the literal statues.
Do we pull the UK apart because it was all built on slave money ultimately? Do you know what I mean? You know, it's where does it stop? That's my point. There's, you know, to quote Jeremy Kyle, we need to draw a line in the sand and go, right, that wasn't right before that line, but we're going to move forward and we're not going to erase everything before that because nobody's learning. How do you know not to have another Holocaust, right, without there being monuments to the Holocaust, right? Because I didn't teach Holocaust studies to my children. You know what I mean? It's you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying, though. A monument is good. Hence why you should have a plaque there, or maybe replace it with a statue of something else. But I appreciate, you know, not wanting, depending on the person, obviously, just if they had some slight involvement with slavery, because it was everywhere at that point. It's a different sensibility, like you're saying, you know. So if there could have been a good person that was just had some connection, some manner to it, just because it was the time. But if they were just a literal dickhead like slave trader, like the ones that beat people and stuff, you know, you don't want that likeness. I can understand not wanting to look at that likeness.
Every second building's called Coulson something or other. So because it was Coulson, the statue in Bristol that they pulled down, right?
Oh, okay.
But every second building is called the Coulson whatever. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Where does it stop? Do you rename the buildings? Do you rename the streets? I know
what you're saying.
I don't think that, and it's not funny. And I know we're supposed to be a comedy webcast, podcast, but it's not.
We just chat about anything. You don't have to always be specifically.
You know what I mean? It's, you know, but the answer is not to give in to herd mentality and start smashing the place up. You know what I mean? That's not.
Never.
that's not the answer. You know what I
Like,
mean?
it's our place. Why are we smashing our own house for? What are we doing?
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah. I don't agree with, like, you know, the whole go in and like pull the statue down. Like, at the same time, I don't overly disagree with it. Like, I'm pretty indifferent to it. I guess these statues themselves,
on it,
depending
launch,
on the.
get people to sign it, and
Well, yeah.
the council to remove it.
Better
Don't.
ways to go about it, because then it would be more likely that something will be done about it in the future. Because the way it was gone about the first time puts a bit of a stink on it, trying to get it done again. You know, the proper way. Like with anything, a stink on it as far as the government's concerned. You know,
If we erase
not
it,
us.
it didn't happen. You know what I mean? And that's the.
You shouldn't erase it either. Like, I'm saying, take the statue down. I understand that. Put something up to commemorate something else, but then that statue taken to like a museum or something, you know, and that's all mentioned. That's part of its history as well, you know, and that's still a sign of history then.
What do you think people were doing when they saw his statue? Do you think they were going, yeah, that geezer's wicked? No, they were going, yeah, that's that dickhead that fucking did slavery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's difficult, man, because I do intellectually, I understand both sides, but the intellectual snob in me thinks that it's there.
Yeah.
Don't you know? Look, be more evolved. Our responses have to be more evolved.
Yeah. Look at it this way, though.
Mentality and throwing a statue in the water.
Look at it this way. Are you against renovating an old building?
No.
I see you like renovating an old building.
Against pulling it down, though.
Oh yeah, people just going and throwing some rope over and pulling it down. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's proper ways to get something done, to do something.
The council and get it moved.
Yeah.
And you move it and you put it somewhere in a museum or somewhere. Do you know what I mean? So that it serves as a reminder. This guy was a dick, right? He had all these statues built because he thought he was the dog's bollocks, and it turns out he was selling misery. This is the con. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say though, with that, I don't know if this happened at all before that, but I could totally imagine people trying to get the council to take it down, and the council just fobbing them off, and then them deciding to do it themselves that time, and then not that. So then deciding to do it themselves, and at least now there's a spotlight on it, so you can have that conversation. It's a bit more out in the open, but obviously I don't know if they did that first. You know, if they tried to go through but I could totally imagine the council fobbing them off, though.
If you've got a good campaign, though, and involve the media and stuff, and I think you could, with Black Lives Matter and stuff, you could have got that statue removed without mob mentality. I think
possibly.
You could have just asked. You know, I mean, really, because Black Lives Matter was fucking raging at the time.
Publicly asking as well on the news, like you said, doing that little
you know, I mean, you probably
campaign. Was that?
You probably could have asked. And out of a will not to want to end up in court or on the news, the fucking council would have gone, yeah, whatever you want, just fuck off.
There's a good chance. I mean,
fuck off, shut up. It's gone. It's in the local museum.
If they made a big stink about it, definitely, like, you know, publicly in the media and all that, then definitely. But otherwise, to be fair, could imagine the council just fobbing them off completely.
My issue is not what they want. My issue is how they want to achieve it.
Yeah.
And that's another, you know, like we were talking about the death penalty earlier. And we have to be more evolved than to execute our problems.
Yeah.
We teach our kids. We teach our kids that you can't just get rid of a problem. You have to work through it and fix it. You can't just wish it away. Well, what's execution if it's not just problem? We can't be asked to fix this person, so we'll just kill them off.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because prison is literally supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be about just holding them. It's supposed to be about reconforming them, whatever the word is.
But we all know it's
rehabilitation. Not. Yeah,
we all know it's not. Listen, have you seen that new Channel 4 series called Screw?
I haven't seen it, but I know what you mean.
It's fucking good. It's worth a watch. And anybody listening, give it a watch. It's a little 6 episodes. It's not long. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was talking to a pal of mine that spent half of his adult life in jail. And he's just at that point now in his life where he's been out 2 years. And it's the first time he's been out 2 years in a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said it wasn't too far from the truth. You know, I mean, he said it's a little bit exaggerated for the TV.
Yeah.
He said, but it's not far from the truth. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, I mean, I know a few people that have been in as well, so I know what you mean, and you do learn that a lot of the stuff is exaggerated. Like my one mate, I always just used to do and taught him all the time with soap on a rope. I bought him once, but I mean, back to cancer culture though, it's still the same kind of thing, like with TV shows and that as well. Like, do you ever watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah,
like that one, and like all the Lethal Weapon ones, but the first one especially. I mean, I don't know how I feel about it because obviously it's an older program anyway at the time, not crazy old, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago at the time. So I suppose at the same time as Little Britain actually, but one of the main keys about the first episode anyway where they did it, the kind of point about putting blackface on was to say you can't do that. You know, they were saying the whole time you shouldn't do that, it's not right. So the context there, you can argue that episode shouldn't have been removed.
Yeah, but they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, though, isn't it?
That's the problem, man. It's all right going, yeah, we're just doing it to mock it. But
they know,
Couldn't you say that about anything? Couldn't you technically stab someone and say, I'm just doing it to mock it?
That's a fair point, actually, when you put it like that, yeah.
Just, you know what I mean? I'm just...
Yeah.
To mock it. I tell you what, let's have just a little interlude because that reminded me of something somebody said recently. Right, you'll appreciate this. Okay. They said they were a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah,
I'm not sure you can be both. You know what I mean? I'm not sure you can be both functioning or an alcoholic. You know, I mean, I'm not sure that it's possible.
I think I'd agree with that.
You know what
I mean? You definitely be a functioning budaholic. I can't be, but you can be a functioning budaholic.
Yeah,
that you can. I envy those people that can smoke and go about their day.
I've never met anybody that's claimed to be a functioning crackhead.
I've known one.
Wow.
Legit. Yeah, one of my bosses at my old place. In the call center, we was like a credit company, you know, doing cards and fixed term stuff, and he was one of the higher up managers, and he was legitimately like, everyone knew it, like, and he talked about it openly, like when not fully like openly, you know, but when you were talking to him, yeah, he was a crackhead. When he went home at night, took some crack. With different ways, whichever different way he felt like at that time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was track things as well. I think it was crack anyway. Crack or heroin. Yeah, but
one or the other.
He was talking about track lines, like, and all that kind of stuff, you know. So that's heroin, isn't it? Or was that crack?
Yeah, heroin. Yeah.
Yeah, heroin. And okay. I don't know if that's the same thing as a crackhead, but I class it as. Nice man, to be fair though.
That was
nice. You wouldn't think it by looking at him.
I overheard this conversation recently, and this is a true story as well. Right. My very close friend of mine is a drugs rehab worker.
Yeah.
And another very close friend of mine is a drug dealer, and they know each other. Right. Right. And my mate, who shall remain nameless, said, can you hook me up so I can sit outside your place and just sell drugs to your clients? Right? And I'm sat there thinking, do you know how wrong that is? Do you know what I mean? That's like you're going to go to a place where people are trying to recover from the misery that people like you have done on them, and you're going to increase their misery. You know what I mean? It's a bit like packing a van full of kids and dropping them off at paedophiles' houses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and he said they're doing drugs already. I'm pretty sure the paedophiles are fucking kids already. You know what I mean?
You want to take them there, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and
It doesn't mean you want to hand deliver them.
And what I realised was it's moral. It's the difference between a moral issue and if it wasn't a moral issue, using the paedophile example would have been horrible. It would have been vile. Do you know what I mean? But because it's that, and he's like, it's not the same, but it is. Because it's not about what you're doing, it's about the moral dimension. The moral dimension, right, is equally as bad for you selling drugs to crackheads outside a drug rehab clinic as me being fucking kids on wheels for pedos. and it's not the same thing, but it's the same principle.
It's
moral, the same moral
same kind of, it's like the same moral level. Well, not the same moral level, but it's like a higher up version of it. That's what we do. Yeah.
And I said to him, and in any case, right, you sell.
It'd be in the same way as, like, you know, like if you work in the morgue, taking one of the bodies to someone that, you know, fucks dead people.
Well, I said to him, you deal cocaine, mate, right? And I know kids were harmed in the making of that product.
True.
You know what I mean? So, in many ways, the drug dealing might be worse. There's murder, gang war, policemen being killed. In some ways, that cocaine getting to your door might be far more harmful than dropping pedos off a kid.
I mean, arguably, yeah.
It's the bigger crime.
But not marijuana.
No.
We just need to grow that.
Not
get a little light.
Drugs is that they're not legal. If they were legalized, then criminals wouldn't control them.
Oh, yeah, because they're going to do them either way, people are.
Be regulated, which is safer for the customer, safer for the farmer because there's no criminals.
We're a lot slower than other places in general, though, aren't we, with that? Like, just looking at America, you know, when it comes to CBD and bud in general, you know. I really wish we was at the level that America were, at least, just because then could get, like, I was listening to a podcast earlier, Flagrant 2, they had Tim Dillon on, and they talked about at one point with one of the sponsors that they did, it was just some diet bud, basically, like in between CBD and normal bud. And I was like, that just sounds perfect for me, because I'm a lightweight in general, always have been. So for me, yeah, it's just the idea that, you know, like that's just.
I always prefer
sponsor in America with that.
I always preferred good hash.
Hash, yeah.
I smoke hash. If I could get hash in the UK, I'd never touch weed again.
I say it's hard to find good hash in the UK, though, and it's. I used to have a Spanish mate, and I learned this.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I just don't see the smoking as a thing. I think it's ludicrous to think that the Americans have started legalizing bud before us, especially when you consider the war on drugs and the whole, you know, how over the top the Americans were.
I mean, do you know a lot of the actual reason behind it, though? Because I learned a lot of this with one of the Children of Comedy podcasts again. They've brought the Great British Cannabis Conspiracy story to it the once and told me all about it. Like, do you know some of the stuff that's going on, like, with that?
Well, I know that cannabis would replace a lot of pharmaceutical products. So I know they've never wanted marijuana to be legal, have they? Because it helps with all kinds of fucking. And I'm a herbalist. I don't know if you know or not, but I've got a diploma in herbalism.
Oh, okay. No.
We do a whole section on marijuana. It's it's massively good. It encourages cell regrowth in every cell in your body.
Wow.
It's a wonder drug. And
that's obviously CBD the same as well then.
Yeah, and the drugs, well, the CBD, it's not the THC that's the good bit.
Exactly, yeah.
Shit we smoke on the street has had all the CBD bred out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in fact, when I was in Holland, a guy that I used to talk to a lot, he used to smoke a lot of weed, and he used to take CBD drops.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
to balance the THC and the CBD content. Because for those of you that have never smoked out there, a lot of the mega strains now, in the old days, you had CBD and THC, and they're balanced in outdoor strains.
Nice haze.
They're balanced really well. You know what I mean? But these mega strong weeds, where they bred out the CBD, which is the good stuff, from a health point of view.
And I always enjoyed the body high, because that's what it is, more into the body high. I always really enjoyed the body high, and you don't get that as much, obviously, with the cheese and stuff nowadays. You get it a bit with haze, good haze, but it's...
A few drops of CBD oil before bed, I'd heartily recommend to everyone. Honestly.
Yeah, same.
Go to your local health food shop or get online and get yourself a CBD oil and be taking a few drops. It's awesome for you.
I can say from experience, like not just myself, but my mum's. I finally got her to start taking. We got Canaway. It's like there's daytime drops and then some nighttime drops too. It's helping her sleep better, and she's also like waiting for like a double knee replacement, and it's like just taking the edge off a bit as well, you know.
Yeah. It's a relaxant.
Yeah, it's good.
So it
kills you out.
Relaxant. So if you're in pain, it's not a painkiller. If you want something that's going to take your pain away, it's not it. But what it does is it relaxes your muscles. So if you've got spasm in muscles, it's really nice. I think. Yeah, it should be legal. It should be legal. We should be able to go and buy it from a shop. Which
that's what I was going to say. Sorry, before
we'd all still buy it on the black market because it'd be too expensive in the shops.
Probably. I think I would though, just because to get the specific strain you want is the best part that I like about it. You know, you can actually pick what kind of bud you want because dealers generally just have one at a time. You know,
but they wouldn't.
No shop.
Right, I mean, I when I was in Holland, I had a man on a bike. I didn't buy in coffee shops.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it was too bloody expensive.
Oh, okay.
But your weed man in Holland, he sent you a menu.
See that? Yeah, it's just a higher standard over there, though, ain't it?
Send you a menu. Not only that, you'll get a slip of paper through your door, and it's a WhatsApp number.
I've had a business card before for a dealer.
You ping the WhatsApp number, he sends you your menu.
Okay. What I meant to say, were you aware that Britain is actually one of the biggest exporters of marijuana in the world?
No.
Yeah, this is the thing that seems to be why they're keeping it illegal, I think. We're one of the biggest exporters. We grow it all here in huge like patches. And well, yeah, I mean, if it was legal, and the person who owns it is who owns it all is married to someone who's in the government stuff, who decides on the laws and that kind of stuff. It sounds like a pure conspiracy, but it's just the truth. And that is what it is. Like, yeah.
I think
we're one of the biggest distributors. It's all there, but if it's legal, then the money doesn't go to the government anymore. It's all through the government, you know. Obviously,
I can't believe that it started changing in America before it has here. I think that's I mean, what I would have been partially tempted to do when we were in the EU is take the British government to the court of the European Court, because my understanding of the EU is that it enables free trade and it enables us all to be the same. So if I can buy weed in a coffee shop in Holland, then I should be able to buy weed in a coffee shop in England, Ireland, France, Belgium. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so,
I mean, we're not part of the EU now, though. But
no, but that would have been. I mean, I did 2.5 years of a law degree. I never finished, but that would have been the way I'd have thought to tackle it. Would have been to go, look, we're all in the EU, therefore we should all be entitled to the same trade. Therefore, I should be allowed to sell weed in a shop. They're
But there's got to be.
They're allowed to in Holland. So
But
why am I allowed to here?
Who's going to be arguing that though? Exactly. Do you know what I mean? Like, who is the one that's going to be actively going to the EU to argue that, to have that wanting enough in the first place that they'll listen to?
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. That would have been my argument. Would have been a legal one. I'd have said, I'm a British businessman. I want to set up a shop selling weed. I'm an EU citizen.
I thought you'd argue that they're breaching some kind of.
I can sell weed.
Oh, so you'd be saying that they're breaching some kind of EU law then, or something?
We should all be equal. Everywhere's the same. The laws are the same everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how it actually.
That would have been potentially a winning argument.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it just depends on that specific law, doesn't it?
Under EU law, I should be entitled to the same trading conditions as everywhere else in the EU. Well,
our conditions, though, that's.
It's not even legal for me to sell my product.
Exactly, though, that's conditions. I mean, I don't know if you could argue that, really, could you? Like, because conditions would be the same around it, but the product isn't necessarily dependent on that. Do you know what I mean?
No, it was just a thought.
No, I'm just trying to think about it as well. Like, it's quite interesting. But yeah, check that out though. Like with the
I want to go to Portugal and check out how it works there.
Is that one of the places you can grow it?
No, they decriminalised all drugs, didn't they?
Oh, okay.
So all drugs are decriminalised. They treat drugs in Portugal as a public health issue rather than a criminal one.
Yeah, that's probably it's true. The idea of getting arrested for putting something in yourself, like it's also the same concept, like, because isn't suicide illegal as well?
Yeah, but you have to look at the bigger picture.
America.
Yeah, it might just be you buying a little bit of cocaine on a Saturday night, but like we were saying earlier, where's that cocaine come from?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
What happened for that drug to get up my on a Saturday night?
But like you said, though, they argue that you should be arrested because of that reason. But at the same time, if the drugs were legal, that wouldn't be going on as well. So aren't they much to blame for that? Or it wouldn't be happening as much, the argument, the argument of that about like legalizing, isn't it? Because without that, then you wouldn't have all the black market kind of version of it, yeah.
And even if drugs were legal, there'd still be a black market.
Yeah.
You know,
it'd be a lot smaller though. You'd imagine.
Very cheaper. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Black market's never going to work. Decriminalising or legalising drugs is not going to get rid of drug dealers.
They'll probably move on to something else.
Someone's always going to have a cheap bag of something that they got off the back of a lorry, because there'll be legal products that are on the backs of lorries.
Yeah, and to be fair, man, they could just move on to something else. Like you could imagine them going into like sex trafficking, that kind of stuff, and then you have to have the discussion around prostitution as well about legalizing that.
I think that's what the Portuguese did. They made it a health issue. So drugs in Portugal are a public health issue. They're not a police issue. You can't be prosecuted for taking drugs. If you end up in court for drug-related crime, it's rehab that you go in, not jail.
Yeah.
You like
what about depending on what you did though? Like when you're high, do you know what I mean? If you beat someone to death when you're high, then you're still going to jail as well.
Yeah.
But
yeah. We probably talked bollocks for 2 hours now, haven't we?
I know, yeah. It's been a good podcast. I'm gonna have to head off in a sec though, because I need to go. I forgot. I need to. Huh?
We need to wrap it up, yeah, man. You're right.
Yeah. I need to draw out some money and then call my illegal florist anyway. So
your illegal florist.
Yeah, hopefully one day legal, but right now illegal florist.
What, this time of night? You've left that late, man.
What? That's what I'm saying. It's been 2 hours. I forgot. I was originally going to say I'd cap it an hour and a half, but here we are. I've enjoyed the chat.
It's been all right, man.
Yeah, man.
Listen, what I say is find us on Sound Proper Comedy. If you're listening to the podcast and you liked my dulcet tones and you want to see what we're up to, and if you're an insomniac and you're awake at 1 a.m, we've got a show at 1 a.m. tomorrow. Well, it'll be Monday morning, early hours. So yeah, check us out if you're in Nottingham. Yeah, just check us out, man.
I'll get this release in the morning anyway, so it'll be tonight for anyone watching this as this has come out or listening as this has come out. Yeah, anything else? Sorry, I didn't cut you off then, did I?
No, that's fine, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Cool.
I'll see you next week, not this week, next week.
Yeah, I was about to say as well, like on my end too. Y'all know about all the Kd Comedy Inc. stuff. If you're watching this till the end, then you probably watch some other stuff. Why wouldn't you? All of the content is amazing. But but this is coming up though for anyone in the England area, in the Birmingham area, every other Tuesday, starting the 15th of February. And then, as Colin said, he will be there for the first one. My first time meeting you in person and getting to see you on stage.
Yeah.
Or on floor. I'm midway figuring out getting stuff to make a makeshift stage, but you know.
Mate, right, my only request is that you don't make a stage that I can fall off.
Well, I mean, you can always fall off stuff. I mean, any stage you can fall off.
And I probably will. KD.
I saw someone fully smack their head on a stage trying to. I don't know what they were trying to do, but can't be worse than that.
Do you know what I'm going to do for your night? I'm going to bring you my 15 minutes best.
Oh,
you know,
appreciate that.
I'm going to do new material, man. Your customers at your first night will get fucking A game call.
Well, then you'll just have to come back and you can work some new material when you want to, won't you?
We've had this discussion earlier, man. I never stopped thinking about that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
There's always new material.
There always is. It's just figuring out what you could. Like, I want to start doing that more. Just trying out all new things and just talking more than anything. Just being myself on stage is what I'm trying to focus on more. And I think MCing will help me do that as well. So, yeah. But yeah, thank you very much, then, and everyone listening. Thank you for being here and being beautiful. And even though I can't see you, I'm sure you're beautiful anyway. You know. Yeah.
And if you're not, we can't see you, so it don't matter.
Yeah. I'll spend it with you tonight. But bye, everyone.
Bye.